In this video, I will discuss F.I.R.E, financial independence, retire early, and explore the psychology of financial independence and the pursuit of freedom. In modern society, most people spend their lives following a familiar financial path. They attend school, enter the workforce, earn an income, pay bills, and continue working for decades until reaching traditional retirement age. For many individuals, this pattern is accepted as an unavoidable reality of life. However, over the past 2 decades, a growing movement known as F.I.R.E, financial independence, retire early, has challenged this conventional model. While many view F.I.R.E simply as a financial strategy, its true significance lies much deeper. At its core, F.I.R.E is a psychological shift that changes the way people think about money, consumption, happiness, and personal freedom. The concept of financial independence, retire early, is built upon a relatively simple idea. Save and invest a significant portion of one's income so that investment returns eventually generate enough income to cover living expenses. Once this stage is reached, a person is no longer financially dependent on employment for survival. The word retire in the acronym often creates misunderstanding because many individuals who achieve financial independence do not stop working altogether. Instead, they gain the freedom to choose work that aligns with their interests, values, and personal goals rather than being driven solely by financial necessity. To understand why F.I.R.E has attracted millions of followers worldwide, it is necessary to examine the psychological principles that support it. One of the most important concepts is delayed gratification, a trait that has been studied extensively by psychologists. Human beings naturally seek immediate rewards. Our brains are wired to prioritize present comfort and pleasure over future benefits. This tendency can be observed in everyday decisions, from spending money on luxury items to postponing savings for retirement. One of the most famous psychological studies related to delayed gratification was conducted by Stanford psychologist Walter Mischel in the late 1960s. Known as the Marshmallow Experiment, the study presented children with a choice: eat 1 marshmallow immediately or wait and receive 2 marshmallows later. Researchers discovered that children who demonstrated greater self-control often achieved better outcomes later in life, including higher educational achievement, improved health, and stronger financial stability. Although the study has been debated and expanded upon over the years, its central lesson remains relevant. The ability to sacrifice short-term rewards for long-term benefits is one of the strongest predictors of future success. The F.I.R.E movement applies this principle directly to personal finance. Instead of spending every dollar earned, followers consciously allocate a substantial portion of their income toward investments. They choose future freedom over immediate consumption. While many people view spending as a source of happiness, F.I.R.E practitioners often view spending through a different lens. Every unnecessary purchase represents not only money spent today, but also potential investment growth lost in the future. This perspective transforms financial decisions from simple purchases into choices about personal freedom. Few individuals illustrate this principle more effectively than Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in history. Despite becoming a billionaire many times over, Buffett became famous not for extravagant spending, but for extraordinary discipline. For decades, he continued living in the same Omaha, Nebraska house he purchased in 1958. While he could have afforded virtually any luxury imaginable, Buffett consistently emphasized the importance of rational decision-making, patience, and long-term thinking. His financial success was not built on frequent trading or risky speculation. Instead, it emerged from a lifetime of disciplined investing and the power of compound growth. Buffett's experience offers an important lesson that aligns closely with F.I.R.E philosophy. Many people assume that wealth is created primarily through high income. However, research and real-world experience suggest that wealth is more often determined by behavior than by salary alone. A person earning a moderate income who consistently saves and invests can ultimately accumulate more wealth than a high-income earner who spends excessively. Buffett himself has frequently highlighted the extraordinary impact of compounding, often describing it as one of the most powerful forces in finance. In fact, a significant portion of Buffett's wealth was accumulated after the age of 50, demonstrating how time and consistency can be more valuable than short-term financial gains. Another psychological concept central to the F.I.R.E movement is the phenomenon known as lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation occurs when spending increases alongside income. As people earn more money, they often upgrade their homes, vehicles, vacations, and daily expenses. While these upgrades may initially provide satisfaction, psychologists have identified a process called hedonic adaptation, which explains why happiness from material possessions tends to fade over time. Human beings quickly become accustomed to improved circumstances, causing yesterday's luxury to become today's normal expectation. This phenomenon explains why many individuals earning six-figure incomes continue to experience financial stress. Despite earning more money than previous generations, their expenses often rise at an equal or faster rate. Consequently, they remain dependent on their jobs regardless of how much they earn. The F.I.R.E philosophy directly challenges this cycle. Instead of increasing spending with every raise or promotion, practitioners maintain relatively stable lifestyles while directing additional income toward investments. This creates a widening gap between earnings and expenses, accelerating the path toward financial independence. A modern example of this approach can be found in Peter Adeney, widely known as Mr. Money Mustache. A former software engineer, Adeney achieved financial independence in his early 30s by maintaining a high savings rate and investing consistently. His story attracted widespread attention because it contradicted the popular belief that early retirement requires extraordinary wealth. Rather than earning celebrity-level income, Adeney focused on reducing unnecessary expenses and maximizing investment contributions. His experience demonstrated that financial independence is often less about how much a person earns and more about how effectively they manage and invest their resources. The success stories associated with F.I.R.E reveal another important psychological truth. People frequently underestimate the value of autonomy. Research in positive psychology consistently identifies autonomy as one of the strongest contributors to life satisfaction and well-being. Individuals who feel control over their time, decisions, and future generally report higher levels of happiness than those who feel trapped by external obligations. Financial independence creates autonomy by providing options. It allows individuals to leave toxic work environments, pursue entrepreneurial ventures, spend more time with family, engage in meaningful volunteer work, or explore creative passions without constant financial pressure. For many followers of the F.I.R.E movement, this freedom is far more valuable than retirement itself. Their goal is not to avoid work, but to gain the ability to choose work based on purpose rather than necessity. However, like any movement, F.I.R.E is not without criticism. Some observers argue that extreme frugality may reduce quality of life and create unnecessary sacrifice. Others point out that not everyone has equal opportunities, incomes, or economic advantages. These criticisms deserve serious consideration. Financial independence is not equally accessible to all individuals, and pursuing aggressive savings targets may not be realistic for every household. Yet, even critics often acknowledge the value of the movement's core principles. Regardless of whether a person retires at 40, 60, or not at all, habits such as avoiding unnecessary debt, controlling expenses, investing consistently, and developing long-term thinking can improve financial security. In this sense, F.I.R.E should not be viewed as an all-or-nothing philosophy, but rather as a framework for making more intentional financial decisions. Perhaps the greatest lesson offered by the F.I.R.E movement is that wealth is fundamentally different from income. Income reflects how much money a person earns. Wealth reflects how much freedom a person has accumulated. Modern culture often celebrates visible signs of success, such as luxury cars, designer clothing, and expensive homes. Yet true financial strength is often invisible. It exists in investment accounts, emergency funds, and assets that generate future opportunities. As financial author Morgan Housel explains in his widely respected book, The Psychology of Money, wealth is what remains after spending decisions have been made. Ultimately, the F.I.R.E. movement is not merely about retiring early. It is about redefining success. It challenges the assumption that happiness comes primarily from consumption and instead suggests that freedom, autonomy, and long-term security may be more valuable than material possessions. Through the principles of delayed gratification, disciplined investing, and intentional living, followers seek to create lives in which money becomes a tool rather than a master. The experiences of individuals such as Warren Buffett and Peter Adeney demonstrate that financial independence is not reserved exclusively for the extraordinarily wealthy. Rather, it is often the result of consistent behavior, patience, and thoughtful decision-making sustained over many years. In a world increasingly driven by instant gratification and consumerism, the F.I.R.E. philosophy offers a powerful alternative. The belief that true wealth is measured not by what one owns, but by the freedom to live according to one's own values and priorities. Thank you for watching. In the next video, I will cover challenges of budgeting without a fixed paycheck. If this video helped you understand budgeting better, subscribe to Budget and Build for more beginner-friendly finance tutorials.